How's it going, guys, and welcome to Game Evolved. I'm Shifty Cow, and in today's video we're going to be talking about remastering the SRAW. Now before we get into it, if you guys do go on to enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like down below, and if you're new to our channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button as we do post Battlefield content daily. So hopping right into it, the first thing I wanted to say is that if you've already learned the SRAW and you just haven't touched it since the spring patch, it's going to be a terrible transition trying to learn this thing, and it's honestly just going to be easier if you never touch this thing at all. So getting that out of the way, the first thing that I had to overcome that's probably one of the most difficult to kind of get used to is obviously going to be the mobility. They really hit this thing with a bat, and it is just so much slower than it used to be. It's definitely still able to take out helicopters, especially ones that are just kind of chilling there and not really moving around, but if they're flying around and they're evasive because they're taking advantage of the helicopter's new mobility, it's going to be a significant challenge to try and take them out of the skies. It's still definitely possible, and it takes a ton of practice. I think I spent a solid 3 or 4 hours just playing with nothing but the SRAW, and even after then, I'm still not as consistent as I was before the spring patch, but it's definitely something that I'm getting a lot better at, and it's still something that I really enjoy doing. So if you really want to relearn the SRAW, I would give it a try, but if you're thinking about it, not really sure, I would just move over to something like the SMAW, where you can definitely hit people way more consistently, and it's just going to be a much easier weapon and gadget to use to take helicopters out. So my first tip for anyone who really wants to relearn the SRAW is just try and take practice shots on easy to hit vehicles like tanks, LAVs, boats, that type of thing, because for me this was an amazing way of kind of relearning all the mobility, because it took a pretty decently long time just to kind of move around and figure out where my missile was actually going to land, and it also gives you a chance to kind of get adjusted to how far you can actually hit targets, because now the SRAW only travels for like 6 or 7 seconds, and while that does sound like a really long time, keep in mind that the SRAW has an insanely low bullet velocity, so it's going to take a pretty decently long time just to hit its target. Now, you're also not going to be able to practice on gunships, which that was pretty much my personal favorite way to kind of relearn the SRAW, or actually just learn the SRAW, because the first time I wanted to do it, that was just how I would get my kills, is I would just look up for a gunship, shoot it down with the SRAW, and that was a really nice way to get adjusted to it. But now that they don't have that, it's going to be kind of tough for anyone to work on moving vehicles. So basically, it's going to be a lot harder to relearn the SRAW, especially if you've never touched it, because before, what you could do is you could shoot at tanks, and then once you got pretty comfortable with kind of moving on slow vehicles, then you could move to something like the gunship, where it's going to be moving but it's really far away, and then eventually you could move on to helicopters, and then it kind of just went all downhill from there. But now that they've removed the gunship, it's going to be a lot harder to kind of jump from just normal slow-moving vehicles all the way to fast-moving helicopters, which their mobility has already been increased with the spring patch, and it's really just going to be kind of a tough transition for some people. So if you really do like the SRAW and you want to relearn it, it's going to take a lot of time and dedication, so if you really want to, go ahead. But otherwise, if you're looking for something that's kind of just the best overall weapon to use to take out air vehicles, I would definitely look into something like the SMAW, because I've had a lot of fun with that one, but because I do enjoy the SRAW and I really just don't want to give up on it yet, I just kind of relearned it. I have a ton of enjoyment out of it, and I think you still get some amazing Battlefield moments, despite it being significantly nerfed. So a lot of people were saying that DICE should change it back, and while I could see them doing some tweaks here and there, I don't see them actually changing it back to what it fully was, being just incredibly mobile, being able to do loop-de-loops, all that type of stuff. I really don't see them doing that, because they did nerf it for a reason. I'm not sure what that reason is, but they have their own reasons for doing things, and hopefully they actually do kind of tweak it a little bit. And the one thing that I really hope they add back is some range, because right now you can only shoot about 400 meters with this thing, and while that sounds like a lot, that's in a straight line, and you have to understand that with the SRAW, you're going to be doing a lot of different curve maneuvers, and for air vehicles, that really is not all that far, and it's not very useful for trying to take people out when they're very evasive and swerving around. So hopefully they do adjust that, but I can't see them doing anything insane or buffing it back to the way it was. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys, and before we do end the video, if you guys do want to check out our second channel, I'll leave a link to that in the description below. We're going to be posting a lot of different random games that aren't really FPS or Battlefield related. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure to check out the link in the description below, as we're going to be having a ton of different content, and hopefully you guys are enjoying that and liking what we post. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys, but if you guys do want some type of SRAW tutorial or tips and tricks, be sure to tell us down in the comments below, because it is kind of tough learning the SRAW, and I understand that a lot of people are trying to just go back to the SMA or do all that type of stuff. But anyways, guys, be sure to tell us what you think down in the comments. Drop a like, subscribe, go check out our Twitter, and until next time, guys, stay buttery.